What's up? Welcome to Southern Unscripted. We are on episode 10 of season 2. Can't believe it. We made it this far. I got a good bit of things that I want to tell y'all today, but I can't imagine that it's going to take too much of your time because I be talking fast, I notice. But I do have a very big announcement at the end of this episode, so make sure you stay until the end. And we're just going to dive right in. Okay, so life has been feeling so different lately. It's been calmer, I can say. Not perfect, but I do feel at peace. I got so many amazing things moving right now. We got some real estate momentum. We got social media traction, like some actual brand deal inquiries that I've been working so hard towards. I've been learning patience. Okay? And I think I'm finally learning how to just stop gripping life so freaking tightly. And honestly, what we're going to talk about today is if you follow me on social media, you know I went see a medium and it brought me a weird amount of peace that I didn't realize I needed, because if you'd have asked me before this, I would have said that I felt like at peace just with things in life, because life can get so fast and busy and chaotic, and then sometimes you have to pause for a second and actually, like, am I happy? Am I fulfilled? So you know me, I'm always just deep diving anywhere I can, whether it's a life coach, a growing course, or now a freaking medium. So we're going to get straight into it. Okay, so there's this medium. When my father died 12 years ago, my sister knew this woman. She was a medium, and a year after my dad died, I don't know, they came in each other's paths, and I was like, I want to do that. Because then when my dad died, I was drinking a lot, and my excuse was like, well, that's what he would be doing. I felt like if I drank, I was connected to him. I don't know, kind of crazy. It's a part of grief, I think. So anyways, I went to her a year after my dad died, and I happened to be pregnant at the time. I just didn't know what I was having yet, and so on and so forth. Okay, so she's a psychic medium. And when I went, I actually connected with my dad a little bit, but my grandfather came through a lot, and I actually had a really powerful message to give my mother. My grandpa was a horrible human being. And in his defense, that's probably how he was raised. I mean, this was a long time ago, He was very mean to my mother. He was hard on my mother. She was, thicker all her life, and he would just call her fat and ugly, and he was just really mean to his kids. Well, in this session, he acknowledged that and wanted me to tell my mother that he was sorry. And I never forget it. I called my mom after I left, and I told her, and she just bawled crying. Could you imagine, like, carrying that type of shit all your life? So that was just like a gist of like how amazing that session went the first time. And she also predicted some things, like she predicted me being on stage, all the lights, and I actually, whenever I was partnered with Herbalife, I would have these little stage sections where you can MC, or you can, go train on whether it was social media, whatever. And I did go between Texas and Louisiana. I might have did Oklahoma and Arkansas too, but just kind of the South, maybe traveling, just speaking on stage. She also predicted that Marley was going to be a girl, and you take it with a grain of salt, because it could not be true. But all those things came true, so it was really a good session. It was healing. I recorded it in my phone. As time went on, and I remember her saying something or predicting something, or something would come across, families talking about something, I would connect the dots and I would go back and listen. I actually still have it in my phone to this day. Whatever, time goes by. She lived in Louisiana at the time, then she moves to Alabama. I moved to Texas. in recent, coming up on my dad's 12-year anniversary, I don't know, he's just been heavy on my heart. I'm going through all these career changes. Like you already know, because everyone lets me know. You do so much. I don't know how you do it. Well, I don't know how I'm doing either. And sometimes I am drowning. It may look like I have it together, but I'm actually drowning. Okay. So I am just trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? It's been heavy on my heart. Like, not that God isn't guiding me and that I don't trust him, because I do, but sometimes if you can have reassurance by talking to someone, whether it's a life coach or whatever, just have some type of clarity within it, it definitely helps, okay? So one day, literally the day after, I want to say, my dad's anniversary, she posts on Facebook, hey, it's been heavy on my heart. I think I want to connect with my past clients. So if anyone wants a reading. So for me, it was like the stars aligned so perfectly. It couldn't have been better. I was like, this is for me, you know? So she said she was doing, like, so cheap. She's just trying to dive in, like 30 minutes for $50. So I text her, and she was like, I asked her if I could do an hour. And she even was like, yeah, I think you might need an hour, as if she had a sign or something. I don't know. So we went into this reading, and it was wild, okay? And just so to explain before I dive into it, whenever she does these readings, she gets things, messages or things. It's not like a whole message of three sentences. It's like, who smokes a lot? And then I would say my father, right? Who she would acknowledge, what's big's happening in July, you know? So it's like, it's little puzzle pieces, what I call them. And from the start of it till the end of it, she shoots out these little puzzle pieces. And when she says one thing, I'm trying to process and take a second to think, what is this connected to? And before I can even land on what it's connected to, she's already on the next puzzle piece. So when I first did it, like, a lot of information came through, and it was a lot to process, but I had to go back and listen, and then things started making sense even more. So it was kind of all over the place. So first and foremost, I had 4 men come through. My father, my dad's father, my mother's father, and my brother-in-law. So you have to understand, these 4 people, it's like 4 men just standing in front of her, waiting their turn to talk to me, but just shouting things out. So she's bouncing from people to people, okay? So it was a lot to follow. But we'll start with my dad first. He just kind of said, like, just specific things. Something that she said a lot was suicide. She just kept saying suicide, who committed suicide. No one in my family has physically committed suicide, but she would say, and I'm not meaning suicide like they actually took their life with a gun or hanging themselves. I'm saying suicide like they're acknowledging or taking responsibility for doing something to themselves that might have killed them, which was so weird. But it didn't connect until towards the end of the call, where she said, who smokes a lot? And she's like, well, that's what this is about. Like, there's a lot of smoking going on, and his lungs, which my dad had pneumonia, COPD, that's pretty much what ended his life. Over time, when you're not taking care of yourself, that's what could happen. You fall sick short one time, and because you haven't taken care of yourself, it could take you out, and maybe your body's not strong enough to fight it, which is why I always preach about taking care of yourself. So important. But he was just acknowledging that he was responsible for the way that he went out. And like, I knew that, okay? Like, I've been knowing that. We all knew that about him. We accepted him as he was. I mean, we didn't love that he was a chain smoker, but like, that's just who he was. So I never really even needed that sort of validation of like, hey, I'm taking full responsibility. Also, my father never took responsibility for anything he did. He was just one of these hard, hot heads. Like, you know, he was an entrepreneur. He was a boss. He micromanaged. But never really took, he actually, I'm going to use Donald Trump as an example because he loved Donald Trump. This was before Donald Trump was in politics. He was an entrepreneur and he admired him. Well, I feel like my father's like Donald Trump because Donald Trump doesn't take accountability. When he does something wrong, even if he knows he did it wrong, he doesn't say like, I'm sorry, I should have never did that. You know what I mean? So that was my father. Never would acknowledge, take accountability. So I didn't need that. But the fact that that came through was like so, it made me feel good. Kind of like, oh, well, that's nice because he's never really done that, you know? And then he did just say some random things like, I got the babies. My niece is pregnant for twins. She says she could see him just holding one in each hand. She guessed, she's like, is one a girl and a boy? And I was like, yep, like, it was just so spot on, and he was just like, I got the babies, I got the twins. And I love that because we always thought when a baby's born, you know, your most close loved one is holding them right before that baby takes their first breath. And I don't know, this kind of validated that, you know? And I say validated because it's like you still question and are skeptical or whatever. But yeah, and then he was also like, there's a big announcement and a wedding coming, and my other niece has already announced, and she's getting married in October. So a lot of things are moving in my family. And that was kind of like what I got, a lot of what I got from my dad. Like, just validation, and like, he kind of teased me my dad was a prankster, which is where I get that from. But he would kind of tease me about the fake flowers that I put in the front of my house. There's no true, like, big, like, you know, I wish I could have, like, he just was there. He was proud of us. They talked about sister energy, which my sister energy is huge. And talked about a lot of things, like some roses, which my sister had roses. Like, he was telling me things about each of my sisters that I couldn't yet confirm, but I had to go talk to them. And when I came back, they were like, yes. My dad gave good business advice, and I feel like each day you live this earth, you question, what would it be like if you would have made it? What would our life be if he could see all of these things that we created, the houses we built, the moves we made, the more kids we produced? Like, what would it be like? We always are like in question. And I know everyone could relate to this because you probably lost someone very close to you, and you just wonder, you know, you miss them so much, their physical touch, their physical voice. But the reality is there at every achievement, every single moment. They are literally there. And she liked to call them heavenly helpers. And she says, you know, talk to them, ask them something that, you know, like, send me the perfect brand deal for me, you know, send me the perfect whatever for me. And she says they're there and they do try to help. So I love that, honestly, a lot. It was just nice to hear that he does see what's going on. He is with me. You know, I always felt that, but just to hear that, like, that he is, and you can confirm it by just saying these little things that how would she have known that? You know what I mean? My brother-in-law did come through. I'm going to keep this one light because I haven't had the chance to share with my mother-in-law yet, because we went in for Mother's Day. We had all kind of things to do, and the mother-in-law was sick, and the mama didn't want to, it was literally flooding everywhere. It was raining so bad. So I went in Mother's Day weekend and didn't see either one of my mothers. My plan was to tell her about this experience there. But he did come through, and she just said a few things that were so him, of just like, he seemed so happy and joyful and like big smile, big in life, and that was so him. He said a few times, you know, that's my brother, like proud to say Kyle's his brother and tell my brother I love him. She said that at least 3 times. Even at the end of the call, she's like, please let Kyle know that Corey, his name is Corey, that Corey came through. So it was like till the very end, he wanted to make sure that we get that to Kyle. And like, I couldn't love that enough for all of them, honestly. But she did talk to me about Marley. And this is more like on the, I guess, psychic and medium side, where we just talked about, she was like, you have a girl, right? And I'm feeling like she's going to be super needy very soon, like this summer. And I think the emotional part of becoming a woman is what she was referring to. Like, she's fearful of it. She doesn't understand it. And listen, I am a woman. Any male who wants to transgender to a woman, abort. You have to be insane to want to pump the type of hormonal emotions we got going on inside of our body. No one should want this. But, you know, I, at 38 years old, still struggle with navigating my emotions. Many times I have found I am like pissed the fuck off, and nothing really happened that bad for me to be that upset, you know? Or sometimes I'll find myself crying emotionally for no reason. And the older I get, the more emotional I am, the more I appreciate the little soft things. So as a girl, like when you're watching a girl try to transition and they're starting to get something you fully understand, and it's your kid, you want to protect your kid, you don't want your kid to have to go through any struggle ever. So it's hard, and it's like this conversation, I've been noticing Marley, just, you know, Kyle has a very stern voice, even if he's not fussing or yelling, his voice is stern, like that's just how he talks. And so even that, she's like shutting down, like she just stands stiff, and she's doing everything in her power to hold her tears back. And she probably couldn't even tell you why she's about to cry. Like, so I'm starting to see this, and my heart hurts for her, but it is so humbling as parents, because me and Kyle are two alpha parents, and we are like, we see glass half full, we encourage, we always like positive, and having to keep that afloat and positive is so humbling, because we just kind of want to be like, okay, pull it together, but she's still a little girl, and she's still fragile, and so then it makes you pause before you approach the best way to handle it. And I had to have a talk with Kyle, because I'm like, you have to be mindful in your delivery, and you have to be loving. And, you know, if someone feels sad and you just fuss at them, then they may carry something's wrong with them for feeling sad. I don't ever want her to feel like it's wrong to be sad. I want her to allow herself to be sad, just not live there. So that was a whole like hard conversation. But deeper into that, she was just kind of explaining like she fears the women parts, not necessarily the parts. How did she say this? Like, she just fears becoming a woman, and she's not ready for that. And she is still a little girl. And she called me out on a conversation that I had with Marley literally the day before, or maybe 2 days before this session. So Marley's obsessed with Cat's Eye. It's a girl band. As a mom, looking at this Cat's Eye, I don't like the way they dress. Hoochie coochie mama. And then sometimes their dances, me saying this as an older adult, looks seductive, okay? But in Marley's eyes, she doesn't see that. It's a girl band, she likes music, kids are into all that TikTok dancing now. So for her, it's literally just this innocence of liking a band. I mean, I love the Spice Girls, so equivalent, just we're in 2026, you know? So she was dancing in the kitchen. She watches these dances, learns them, and then does them around the clock, 24/7, and nonstop, okay? So she's doing this dance. Caden's walking down the stairs. He sees the end of the dance, and it's kind of like she did the cat-cow, you know, when you stretching cat-cow on the ground. Kind of like that, humping the ground, and then like I don't know. It looked seductive to me, okay? So my first reaction was, don't do that. And so like she immediately got embarrassed. She's about to cry. Remember, she's emotional. I'm like, you look like you being sexual. And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like you trying to sell your body or something. And so she called me out. It's almost like she heard that conversation or something. She's like, you have to understand, adults bring so much attention to kids these days because they're doing something that's wrong, and they don't even think they're doing anything wrong because they're kids. They're innocent, you know? And when we bring attention to it like it's wrong, it's like I embarrassed her, like she was in trouble, like she did something wrong, and she didn't even know what she did. Because in her, like, she doesn't know what that means. She doesn't look at it as that because she's just a kid. Really kind of checked me and throat punched me thinking about it, because it's like, as a mom, you don't want to scar your kids, or you don't want to lead them down the wrong path. You don't want them to grow up too fast. And it definitely opened my eyes for a second, and now I'm just trying to like keep her little. So the very next day I ordered puzzles, 200-piece puzzles. I ordered game boards, and I'm trying to get more into just being present and still being a little kid with her as much as I can, versus like letting her evolve into this new world, because that's the only thing I can protect her from, right? But with that, you know, the whole puberty thing, I'm very raw when I talk to her about things. Like, let's be honest, she follows me 24/7. I don't even get a bathroom break in privacy. So there's been times I'm on my cycle, she sees what I'm doing, you know what I mean? And so she's asked questions, and I'm honest with her. The only thing I'm really not, like, I'm so raw with her and honest about life, body parts. I've learned the anatomy through and through, so I talk to it on a science level, right? But I'm very brutally honest. The only thing that I'm still lying to her about, that I hate, that I'm lying to her about, is Santa Claus. But I will miss when Santa Claus is revealed, so we're going to try to push that one, okay? But I try to be honest with my kids. I don't want to scar my kids. I was scarred when I found out Santa wasn't real. That's why I feel bad about it, because it still pisses me off to this day. Like, you know, I was devastated. I carried that shit till 6th grade. I found out in 6th grade. That's how long we pushed. God, that's part of my trauma that I have to go to all these life coaches and therapy sessions for. But anyways, we were talking again the other day, and I just kind of was like, if you ever have something going on down there, or, you know, just don't be afraid to ask me. And she said said something about somebody at school told her. I said, don't ever believe anybody at school. They're not going to tell you the truth, and they don't even know. You got to ask your mama. So I try to give her a space where we can talk about it, and she literally asked me, she understands that babies get pushed out a certain way, but she doesn't know how they get in there. So I was just like, well, you know what? We're going to get a book about how this happens, because the medium suggested that I get a book, and we kind of just learn about it in the most formal way possible. Mind you, she's 10, and I'm not ready to be raising no little girl. This is too much. But we're gonna, so, and it answered her question. She was like, okay, because she knew that she would find the answer in the book. Now, I'm not in a rush to get the book, but I do need to get the book, because she was just like, this summer she's gonna be needy. It's gonna be emotional, and I'm already seeing it. I'm already seeing what's that bringing, and it's making me a little nervous, but it's also letting me pause, be grounded, and we're gonna figure this out together. And I'm glad that I had this just to kind of guide me, because I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect mom, although I wish I could be. So yeah, I'm like super glad that I'm able to have this type of honesty. And I'd rather my daughter learn uncomfortable truths from me than shame from the world, because you hear things and you're just like, oh, you don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. And not that these parents are doing that wrong. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they have and how they know and how they were taught. Some people like to break generational curses. Some people don't think they need to. Regardless, it's not wrong. It's what they know. They're just doing what they can. But I just want to do what I can too. So I'm super grateful that I had this opportunity for her to give me some type of guidance. And overall, this whole thing has brought so much peace because we talked a lot about my career. Now, she predicted a lot about my career. I'm not going to go over that right now because if it doesn't come true, then I sound dumb. So we just have to see what happens. But I am at peace with, maybe I battled with trusting God. I don't know. But I'm at peace with it, and that I'm going to give it a couple months and just trust this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm glad I had this. So I'm glad that I'm able to have this session where it brought peace, clarity. It allowed me to reflect, bringing me patience, let things build slowly. The social media traction is something I have been working on for so long. I told y'all when I was going to go viral, I was going to try to capitalize on that and just ride the wave. And I did. And so it's coming to fruition, I'm really starting to get the traction. And this is only the beginning. As far as the real estate momentum, she gave me some clarity on that. And, I have my hands in a lot of things and I have so many opportunities coming. Everything just has been feeling aligned lately. And ultimately me learning the patience has helped. I'm always pushing. I'll always keep working, but I've tried to force some outcomes. And now I'm just trying to take a step back and allowing what's meant to be, and if it's not meant to be, we need to remove it. And that brings me to my huge announcement. I feel like that applies to the podcast too. And so with that, this is going to be going on pause. I don't know if that means indefinitely or if it means 3 months, 6 months. I really don't know what that looks like. All I know is that the podcast didn't grow in the way that I expected it, but all these other things are growing. The podcast brings me so much joy. I enjoy just sitting and talking, but also the time that it takes for me to set aside as far as the filming and the editing and then the marketing, which I feel like I'm not even at best with my marketing, but it's because I am doing so many things and I have so many things going on that I'm just I think I just need to focus on the things that are growing. And it's bittersweet. I've learned so much in this whole phase. I've stepped out and done something completely uncomfortable. Still feels uncomfortable, honestly. But if the podcast would have taken off before, these brand deal opportunities or my social media going viral or all these things, then that would have totally been the direction I would have went in. I'm just trying to trust what's in front of me and keep building on that. My time is so important. The summer's coming up. I'm about to have another kid on my hip all freaking summer long. So just the extra hours that I can give to the things that are working is kind of just where I'm I need to do this. It's been tugging on me. 2 weeks, I went to the bi-weekly. 2 weeks go by so fast, and then I'm having to force my creative to come up with my conversations because I always am running out of time when it in my schedule. And I'm just hate admitting it, but something has to give, and that's just kind of where we are right now. But I'm still gonna create, and you won't get these 45 minutes to an hour podcast, but I plan to kind of bring the vlogging and the conversations and the topics to my TikTok for now and my social media. Hopefully that can transpire to vlogging on my YouTube channel. If this podcast is meant to return someday, it definitely will. I'm still gonna create. I'm still gonna be talking a lot somewhere else though. I'm still gonna just be on the internet oversharing. But for now, I think I'm just gonna give it a little more. But for now, I think I'm being called to live a little more than just record podcasts. And we'll see how that pans out. But I did have fun while it lasts. Season 1 was a lot of figuring it out, like the editing, the filming, the things, the flow. And then season 2 was me actually really trying. But I just, for the time that it takes, I need that time back right now. But I do want to say thank you for anyone and everyone who has rode with me from the very beginning to the very end. This is not a goodbye. This is just like, I can't wait to see what's next kind of thing. It's bittersweet. I loved it here. I loved doing this, but we have big things in the works for us right now, which of course I'm going to take everybody along with me on TikTok. Make sure you go follow Sarah Derwin TX. And for now, that's where we'll see you. I am so grateful, so thankful. What a journey. It's been a year, so we lasted a year. At least that's great. But I learned so much in this year. So until next time, thank you again for everyone, the listeners, the supporters. I genuinely love all of y'all from the bottom of my heart. A lot of those people text me on the side. You can always still text me, call me, all the things. The podcast will still be up indefinitely if anybody wants to ever chime in or listen in. We're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Until then, I love y'all. Bye.